Hey guys, my name is Shrish. So right now it's sort of become mandatory that if Redmi launches a phone or a brand associated with Xiaomi launches a phone, then Realme sort of has to hit back. And the same goes the other way around as well. If Realme launches a phone, then Redmi has to hit back or Xiaomi has to hit back with a phone that can compete with the Realme product. And the same happened with the POCO X2 and Realme 6 Pro as well. When POCO X2 was launched, Realme already had its Realme X2 sitting in the same price bracket, but they went on to launch the Realme 6 Pro. Now I've used both of these phones. Each one I had them as my primary device. So in this video, I'll just share my opinions about which phone is better for you. And yeah, without any further ado, let's get into this. Now, according to me, the most confusing aspect between both of these phones is the refresh rate itself. Now, the POCO X2 comes with a 120Hz refresh rate, and on the other hand, we've got Realme 6 Pro with a slightly conservative 90Hz refresh rate. Now, if you ask me if I can tell the difference between a 90Hz refresh rate and a 120Hz refresh rate, well then yes, I can definitely tell the difference between both of these. The 120 definitely feels much smoother than the 90Hz, but the difference is not really as much drastic as compared to 60 to 90 Hz. But obviously, yes, the 120 Hz does feel a little bit smoother than the 90 Hz refresh rate display. Now, if you ask me, does it matter? Like, do we really need 120 Hz refresh rate on a phone, or is it sort of overkill? Well, the answer is the purpose of high refresh rate display is to make your device a little bit smoother and to refine your smartphone experience, which I think the 120 Hz refresh rate definitely does. Like, clearly, if you switch from 120 Hz refresh rate to a 90 Hz, at some point you might feel that the phone is not really that much smoother. But obviously the 120 Hz refresh rate has its own trade-off, that is with the battery life. Now definitely the battery life on the Realme 6 Pro is better than what we get on the POCO X2. Now just to give you a little bit of clarity, the screen on time I was getting with the POCO X2 was somewhere around 5.5 hours, and the usage between these 5.5 hours was extremely heavy. Continuous gaming, a lot of video streaming like Amazon Prime and Netflix. And with this sort of usage, I was able to get somewhere around 5.5 hours or 5 hours, 20 minutes, somewhere between that. On the other hand, on the Realme 6 Pro, with the same usage, the screen on time was somewhere around 7 hours. But this was for extremely heavy usage. If you're a light user or moderate user, then even POCO X2 can pull you through a day without any issues. And on that occasion, just to specify, both of these phones have got decent battery life if you're a moderate user. So yes, in terms of battery life, I would definitely rate the Realme 6 Pro higher. But if you use both of these phones at 60 Hz, then the battery life or the battery performance is somewhat similar. So that's one factor to consider. Now, one more thing that confuses a lot of people when it comes to Realme 6 Pro versus Redmi Note 9 Pro versus the POCO X2 is the processor. Now, the Realme 6 Pro comes with the Snapdragon 720G, which was, somehow launched after the Snapdragon 730G. That totally messed up the Snapdragon naming system. But yeah, Snapdragon 720G is the latest processor, not the 730G. And if you go on specifically or specifications wise, there are certain differences, but in practical usage or day-to-day usage, I did not find any difference between both of these phones. Both phones handle their respective refresh rates pretty well. The experience was flawless, no lags whatsoever. Even with heavy usage, none of these phones broke out any sweat for a mid-range phone. Even in terms of gaming as well, both of these phones perform extremely similar. Also, one thing that a lot of people are concerned about is the heating issue. Some people think that POCO X2 heats to a very extraordinary extent, but that's not entirely the case. In fact, under heavy usage, both of these phones actually get equally warm. So in terms of heat management as well, both of these phones are sort of equal. Now there's just one issue that I found with the Realme 6 Pro, that is heating while using the camera. Now I was using the camera application for 10 to 15 minutes, and in these 10 to 15 minutes, the phone got noticeably warm. And if you proceed even further, I'm pretty sure that the noticeable heat can soon turn into uncomfortably hot phone. Now the good part is that this happens only with the camera application and nothing else. So that means that this can definitely be fixed with a software update, which I'm sure Realme sometime will. And then coming to cameras, now this is where the POCO X2 sort of has the advantage of a much powerful sensor. Now the POCO X2 comes with a Sony 64 megapixel sensor. On the other hand, the Realme 6 Pro has got the traditional Samsung GW1 64 megapixel sensor. Now in bright daylight, both of these phones actually produce similar images, but when it comes to challenging situations like low light photography, be it normal mode or your HDR or night mode, in all of these circumstances, the POCO X2 performs better, and that is because the Sony sensor is actually better in low light. And when it comes to post-processing as well, I do prefer the images shot on the POCO X2. Now Realme has always had this tendency to oversaturate the colors and add a lot of vibrance, which sort of results in changed colors, and that's the same case with the Realme 6 Pro as well. Nothing has changed. The colors are oversaturated, something I don't really like. But on the contrary, Realme 6 Pro has got a telephoto which enables you to zoom in without losing a lot of clarity, and that I think is really nice. Unfortunately, this lens isn't utilized to capture portrait mode pictures. I don't know exactly what went wrong, but it technically should have. But anyways, that's about that. And on the other hand, when it comes to front camera, we do get the wide angle selfie, which in my opinion is miles better than the depth sensor on the POCO X2. So setup wise, Realme 6 Pro has some advantages of its own, but when it comes to the sheer abilities of the primary sensor, then the POCO X2 is a clear winner. And under my usage, I found out that the primary lens or the primary camera is the one that I mostly use. And then speaking about the easily differentiating factor, the software on both of these phones. Now the Realme 6 Pro obviously comes with Realme UI. On the other hand, the POCO X2 comes with MIUI. In terms of optimizations, both of these phones are actually similar to each other. The only thing that sets the softwares on these two phones apart is the visual aesthetics. Even in terms of functionality, both of these phones are quite close to each other. So honestly speaking, Realme UI versus MIUI, it's sort of a personal preference, so it depends on sort of who you are. And then finally, to nitpick a difference which sort of makes a minor difference in your day-to-day usage, that is the outdoor visibility or the display quality. So the outdoor visibility on the POCO X2 is better than what we have on the Realme 6 Pro. It doesn't mean that Realme 6 Pro is bad in terms of outdoor visibility, but it's just that the POCO X2 is better. And then in terms of speaker quality, the Realme 6 Pro comes with the Dolby Atmos. So there are certain areas where the POCO X2 is better, there are certain areas where Realme 6 Pro excels. So to give you a general breakdown, the POCO X2 has got better display, better cameras, and it provides slightly better value for money because it's a bit cheaper than the Realme 6 Pro. And along with that, the POCO X2 has better custom ROM development support. And on the other hand, the Realme 6 Pro has got a wide angle selfie, which I think is more important than what we have on the POCO X2. It also has the support for Navic. I don't know how exactly does this fare up in real world, and also it does a bit better than POCO X2 at high refresh rate in terms of battery life. Now if you ask for my opinion, I would go for the POCO X2, firstly because it's 1000 rupees cheaper, meaning it provides you with better battery life. Secondly, the display, I would take the 120Hz display for its smoothness. Definitely it depends from user to user, but I would take the 120Hz display. And most importantly, I like the cameras on the POCO X2. But that's just me, and that's the whole point of making this video. Obviously, there are certain departments in which the Realme 6 Pro is better than the POCO X2, especially in terms of battery life, because of its lower refresh rate display and the wide angle lens and the telephoto camera. So if in case these factors are important for you, then you can definitely go for the Realme 6 Pro. So yes, in the end, it boils down to your personal preference and your priorities. I would just suggest that you set your priorities straight before buying either of these phones. But even if you buy either of these phones, you're not going to regret it, because both of these phones actually provide great value for money. So yeah guys, that's it for this video. I hope this video helped you in some way or the other. If it did, be sure to leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.